There are places that feel forgotten, and then there are places that feel contained, as if something inside them is waiting. On the eastern edge of Long Island, where the land narrows and the Atlantic stretches endlessly into darkness, stands an abandoned military installation known as Camp Hero. By day, it looks ordinary. Concrete structures, weather-beaten towers, fenced perimeters. But at night, the wind changes. And according to one of America's most persistent modern legends, that land was never truly abandoned. It was sealed, because something happened there, something that was never meant to be public. Tonight, we enter the myth of Montauk, not as believers, not as skeptics, but as witnesses to a story that refuses to die. Official history says Camp Hero was a radar station, built during World War II, used during the Cold War, part of America's early warning defense system. Concrete bunkers, surveillance towers, military operations, then eventually decommissioned. The structures remain today, empty shells facing the sea. But in conspiracy lore, the story doesn't end with shutdown orders. It begins there, because some claim the base was not closed. It was repurposed, and what followed allegedly became known as the Montauk Project. According to a series of controversial books and accounts from the 1990s, none verified by independent historical evidence, Camp Hero allegedly became a site for secret experiments. Not just military research, but something far stranger. Time manipulation, psychic amplification, interdimensional research. Stories describe hidden underground facilities beneath the base, rooms sealed from public maps, equipment capable of manipulating electromagnetic fields in ways that could alter perception or reality itself. Again, these claims remain unproven and are widely regarded as part of conspiracy literature. But within that literature, the details are chilling. And the most disturbing claims involve children. The narrative describes young subjects allegedly recruited or taken, said to possess psychic abilities, telepathy, remote viewing, heightened sensitivity. According to the legend, the experiments aim to amplify these abilities, to weaponize consciousness, to turn thought into force. The children were reportedly subjected to intense psychological procedures, isolation, sensory deprivation, electromagnetic stimulation, and in the darkest versions of the story, they were used to power something, and something called the chair. In Montauk lore, the chair was not ordinary furniture. It was described as a device engineered to focus psychic energy, metal framing, electronics, wiring connected to monitoring equipment. The subject would sit, the machine would activate, and the mind would become the interface. According to the story, imagination could be projected outward. Objects could materialize. Space could distort. Time could bend. Some versions claim the device opened portals. Other versions say it created entities. And in certain retellings, something escaped. The details vary. The dread does not. Because whether real or fictional, the idea itself is unsettling. What if thought could reshape reality? And what if someone tried to test that? In conspiracy communities, Montauk became a focal point. Online forums, late-night radio, underground publications. As stories spread, curiosity intensified. People began visiting Camp Hero. Urban explorers searched for tunnels. Amateur investigators scanned terrain. Some claimed to find sealed entrances. Others found nothing but concrete and salt air. But in the mythology, the base still pulses with activity. Not visible, not audible, but present, like a signal that never fully turned off. Years later, a television series emerged that felt familiar. Secret government lab, children with psychic abilities, dimensional breaches, a facility with dark corridors and hidden rooms. While the creators have described the show as inspired by broader 1980s conspiracy culture and fiction, many viewers noticed similarities to Montauk lore, particularly early Internet-era discussions. The show's original working title reportedly referenced Montauk. Whether coincidence or inspiration, the overlap reignited public fascination. And with fascination comes something else: belief in nostalgia. But the Montauk stories didn't stay confined to books. They spread through the ether like a vile disease. Some individuals became convinced the tunnels were real, that evidence was hidden, that files existed, that something was still active. In extreme corners of the internet, Montauk became not just a story, but a destination. People attempted to breach restricted areas. Authorities had to enforce boundaries, because abandoned military sites can be dangerous, structurally unstable, environmentally hazardous, legally restricted. But in conspiracy narratives, those barriers are interpreted differently, not as safety measures, as cover, and every locked door becomes proof. Spend enough time near the ocean at Montauk Point, and you'll feel it. The wind carries across open water without obstruction. Sound behaves strangely in coastal spaces. Concrete structures amplify echoes. Radar towers cast long silhouettes at dusk. It is easy to understand how imagination thrives there. Isolation, military architecture, abandoned corridors, Cold War history. When history is quiet, stories grow louder. Documented records show Camp Hero served defensive radar functions, part of national surveillance systems during periods of geopolitical tension. No verified evidence supports claims of time travel research, psychic weaponization, or interdimensional portals. The structures that remain are consistent with known military design of the era. The underground spaces referenced in conspiracy literature have not been substantiated by credible documentation. The extraordinary claims belong to folklore. The base belongs to history. But folklore does not require proof to persist. It only requires fear and imagination. Preston Nichols, the godfather of Montauk conspiracies, passed away on October 5th, 2018, and never backtracked on his story. One event that utilized the time travel and teleportation experiments took place at Montauk, but actually in the stream of time earlier in the 20th century, is known as the Philadelphia Experiment. August 12, 1943, is when they activated an invisibility device aboard Navy ship, the USS Eldridge. This then had extreme consequences in that it supposedly went interdimensional, fusing flesh and metal together as it phased in and out of reality and space, while a couple crewmen, the Cameron brothers, allegedly jumped ship and traveled forward in time to Camp Hero in Montauk in August 1983. This was loosely portrayed in the movie The Philadelphia Experiment. Also in the 1983 there was allegedly other chaos happening at the base as well. There was an insurrection of operatives, Preston, Duncan, and other gifteds, known as the Montauk Boys and Montauk Girls, at the base that brought the project to a screeching halt for a fleeting moment. The account of this can be read in the book The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time by Preston Nichols and Peter Moon. The mystery of Montauk endures because it sits at the intersection of government secrecy, Cold War paranoia, abandoned infrastructure, children as experimental subjects, time manipulation mythology, early internet conspiracy culture. It emerged at the perfect cultural moment, when distrust in the government and institutions was rising and digital communities were forming. Stories once whispered could now be shared globally within seconds. Montauk became a template, a blueprint, a myth that could merge with almost any narrative about hidden labs and secret programs. And once a legend becomes adaptable, it becomes immortal. Imagine standing at Camp Hero at night, the ocean behind you, wind pressing against the cliffs, the radar tower looming in darkness. You hear nothing but waves. But in your mind, you wonder, if something once happened here, would it leave traces? Would it echo? Would it still be waiting? Or is the true mystery not inside the base, but inside us? The human tendency to fill silence with story, to transform abandoned places into portals, to search for hidden chambers beneath the base, looking to document the scars left in concrete. Because sometimes the scariest thing is not a secret experiment. It is the possibility that ordinary history can feel extraordinary when viewed through the right lens. Montauk may be radar towers and Cold War defense systems, but in the dark corners of culture, it became something else, a place where time bends, where wormholes are created between worlds, where children power machines, where chairs rip holes in the fabric of time and rewrite reality, and where the signal, whatever it was, never quite stopped. This has been the story of Montauk, and whether legend or cautionary tale, the wind still blows across the point, and the concrete still stands. Someday meet me at the crosspoint, where something lurking just below the surface, itching to be set free again, waiting. Thanks for listening. This has been another strange podcast from Stranger Things, and I have been your guide, Mortimer. Until next time, travel safe and dream strange.